Okay, so today I am going to be talking to you about upcoming releases of books that I am really excited about. Now, I've had to do a bit of research on some of these books. I thought, oh, they sounded interesting, decided to delve in a bit more, and these were the ones that I think I cannot wait to read. Now, there are going to be five on this list. I'm going to talk about them in release date order, starting with the closest first. And the first book that I'm going to be talking about is called Companions, and that is written by Katie M. Flynn. So, what Companions is about is California being under quarantine since a contagious outbreak, and that no one can go out, but it says the dead can come in. And I think, from what I remember, it's about the consciousness being uploaded into something, whether it be artificial bodies, forms, things like that, and they get to stay with their family in this form sometimes. Sometimes they get rented out to other people as companions. And it follows one character, I think her name's Lilac. I'm going to read the full synopsis out in a minute just to make sure that it's a better understanding for you. But from memory, it follows one girl named Lilac, and she realizes she can defy the orders, because the point of her consciousness being uploaded is that she's basically a servant, and she realizes she can defy their orders, and her act creates a revolt in some sense. Yeah. So, the actual synopsis of the book, which is probably much better to give you than me actually talking, is in the wake of a highly contagious virus, California is under quarantine. Sequestered in a high-rise tower, the living cannot go out, but the dead can come in. And they come in all forms, from sad rolling cans to manufactured bodies that can pass for human. Wealthy participants in the companionship program choose to upload their consciousness before dying so that they can stay in the custody of their families. The less fortunate are rented out to strangers upon their death, but all companions become the intellectual property of Metis Corporation, creating a new class of people, a command-driven product, class without legal rights or true free will. 16-year-old Lilac is one of the less fortunate, leased to a family of strangers. But when she realises she's able to defy commands, she throws off the shackles of servitude and runs away, searching for the woman who killed her. Lilac's act of rebellion sets off a chain of events that sweeps from San Francisco to Siberia to the very tip of South America. While the novel traces Lilac's journey through the exquisitely imagined North California, the story is told from 8 different points of view. Some human, some companion. They explore the complex shapes love, revenge, and loneliness take when the dead linger on. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that sounds really interesting. I think that ventures very much into sci-fi, and I've never really read a sci-fi, never really been interested in many sci-fis, but this one really sparks my interest, and I can't wait to see how this book turns out. So I'm very excited to read that. The book is due to be released on March 3rd, 2020. Now, I really can't tell you whether that's in England or overseas, somewhere like that. However, should the book be available for me to buy then, I will be. I really can't wait. Okay, the next book that is due to be released, also due for release on the 3rd of March 2020, same as The Companions, is 8 Perfect Murders, and that was written by Peter Swanson. Now, I'm not even going to try and give you a basic synopsis because clearly I'm not that good at it. I'm just going to read it out and then tell you why I'm excited. Years ago, a bookseller and mystery aficionado, Malcolm Kershaw, compiled a list of the genre's most unsolvable murders, those that are almost impossible to crack, which he titled 8 Perfect Murders, chosen from among the best of the best, including Agatha Christie's ABC Murders, Patricia Highsmith's Strangers on a Train, Ira Levin's Death Trap, A.A. Milne's Red House Mystery, Anthony Berkeley Cox's Malice Aforethought, James M. Cain's Double Indemnity, John D. MacDonald's The Drowner, and Donna Tartt's A Secret History. But no one is more surprised than Mal, now the owner of the Old Devil's Bookshop in Boston, when an FBI agent comes knocking on his door one snowy day in February. She's looking for information about a series of unsolved murders that look eerily similar to the killings on Mal's old list. And the FBI agent isn't the only one interested in this bookseller who spends almost every night at home reading. The killer is out there, watching his every move. A diabolical threat who knows way too much about Mal's personal history, especially the secrets he's never told anyone, even the recently deceased wife. To protect himself, Mal begins looking into possible suspects and sees a killer in everyone around him. But Mal doesn't count on the investigation, leaving a trail of death in its wake. Suddenly, a series of shocking twists leave more victims dead, and the noose around Mal's neck growing so tight he might never escape. Now that sounds good. I really can't wait to read that book. I think it's a darker one, it's a thriller, it's a mystery, it's all type of things I love. It's also related to reading. Now, if you like reading, that's fantastic. It mentions writers such as Agatha Christie having some of the unsolvable crimes, and I love Agatha Christie. It's got a lot of other writers, which now I'm actually really interested in reading. So, clearly giving me some options. But yeah, I'm very excited to read that. I think it'll probably be a really good book. I'm excited to see how it plays out, how it concludes. Yeah, overall, I'm very excited to see where it goes. That one is out on the 3rd of March, and I will make sure to buy that. I'm very excited. I really am. I'm very excited to read that eventually. Okay, next. I'm not entirely sure why. It's not my typical type of book, but I'm also quite excited to read it. It's called Something She's Not Telling Us, which is from Darcy Bell. Now, this book comes out on the 7th of April in 2020, and from reading the synopsis, it's one of those that I'm excited about, but it's not my typical kind of book, and I'm very excited. So I will tell you a bit about it. So basically, the plot follows a girl called Charlotte. She has a husband, a flower shop, and a daughter called Daisy. And then her younger brother appears with his new girlfriend, Ruth. And Ruth seems to take quite an interest in Daisy. Now, the younger brother has never really had many successful relationships. The women that he's been with are not actually that great. But she seems okay, and Daisy really likes the woman, Ruth. And then their relationship grows. Daisy has a good relationship with her. But then Charlotte notices that Ruth's connection to her daughter is becoming a bit obsessive. And then Daisy is kidnapped. And Charlotte is absolutely convinced that Ruth is behind it. Ruth has everything she's ever wanted, almost. She has a nice boyfriend. She's got such a good family in her partner's family. And she has such an adorable niece, meaning Daisy. The only thing standing in her way is Charlotte. And she views... I assume from the plot that it's going to be a double narrative from Charlotte's view and Ruth's. But Ruth views Charlotte as cold and hostile towards her. Charlotte views Ruth as a bit obsessed with her child. And it says Ruth knows that Charlotte has a deeply buried secret, one that she is not telling everyone, and all Ruth needs to do is find out what that secret is. And the two women follow each other down a rabbit hole, uncover loads of secrets and lies and trauma, and it says that the family is shattered and it cannot be fixed. Now, that doesn't sound like the type of book I typically read. It's very... The description of the book, it's why I just give you my general overview of it. The description, like the synopsis, is very long. Well, it's like 6 different paragraphs. It's very long. If you want to read it, it's on Goodreads. Please have a look. I will copy a link of all of these books into the description. So please feel free to check out any that you're interested in. But it's not my typical kind of book, but it sounds really interesting, so I definitely want to give that a go. So we will see what that brings, and I can't wait to read that. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about, obviously it was going to come on the list. It's an upcoming release of a James Patterson book. So, the James Patterson book in question is called The Summer House, and it is James Patterson with Brendan Dubois. You may know that he is the co-author of Out of Sight, which I recently did a review on, so make sure you check that out. Now, the book describes itself quite well. It is known as a dark thriller. I'm reading it off my laptop, which is why I'm not looking at you. Now, it says, for 7 victims, death comes in the dark. Once a luxurious southern gateway on a rustic lake, then reduced to a dilapidated crash pad. The summer house is now a grisly scene of a nighttime mass murder. Eyewitnesses point to 4 army rangers known as the Night Ninjas, recently returned from Afghanistan. To ensure that justice is done, the army sends Major Jeremiah Cook, a veteran and former NYPD cop, to investigate. But the Major and his elite team arrive in sweltering Georgia with no idea their grim jobs will be made exponentially more challenging by a local law enforcement, who arrest the army's intrusion and stonewall them at every turn. As I'm reading, I'm realising it's about the armed services, which I have said many times I am not a fan of. We'll see. As Cook and his squad struggle to uncover the truth behind the condemning evidence, the pieces just won't fit, and forces are rallying to make certain damning secrets die along with the victims in the murder house. With his own people in the crosshairs, Cook takes desperate gamble to find answers, even if it means returning to a hell of his own worst nightmare. See, now that sounds really good. I'm very excited for that. It's James Patterson, I'm excited. Not too keen on the idea that it's, again, armed services kind of people. People, army rangers, things like that. Veterans. I've already said from out of sight, that's really not my cup of tea. Maybe it's Brendan Dubois. I don't really know much about him. But from the things I've read, James Patterson focuses on a lot of police procedurals. Some of his longest series, Alex Cross, The Women's Murder Club, Michael Bennett, Harriet Blue, they are all police. This will be the second book I've read with Brendan Dubois as a co-author, and it'll be the second book that relates to the armed services in some sort of fashion. So, maybe that's his thing. We'll have to see. I might do a bit of research on that a bit later and see where that goes, because, as I said, it doesn't really interest me that much. I'm not the biggest fan of it. And I don't really want to keep harping on the fact that I don't like it, because, as I've mentioned before, I also feel quite bad as though I should like it, because the work that people in the armed forces do is so amazing and so vital and so important that people should care. But I don't really care about it in books. I care about it in real life, not in books. It's just not. It's not a storyline that appeals. So I may have to do some research on that. But I'm still very excited for it. I do really love James Patterson. I did like the Brendan Dubois book that he written, Out of Sight. Gave that 4-star rating. I am excited for it. That book is due out on the 8th of June, so there's quite a while. I can do a bit of research on that, but I am very excited to see where that goes. So, on to my final book. Now, if you've watched the rest of my videos, you will know why I'm excited about this book. It is James Patterson again, but the book is called Hawk. Now, from what I've read, it is a sequel or a follow-on or a continuation. I don't really know what it would be described as, but I mentioned it in the newbie tag. Also, check that one out. Really plugging myself today. The first book I ever read, was a James Patterson. It was The Angel Experiment, which was part of the series Maximum Ride. Now, I haven't read the rest of them. I only ever read that one, and it made me fall in love with reading. But at the time, my school didn't stock the entire series. They only stocked that one book, and I didn't read before that, so I just kind of saw it as, maybe it was a fluke. I'm not going to spend my own money on that book series. So I never actually did it. I've got all of the books now. I own them all. I just still haven't got round to reading them. They're on my pile of potential TBRs. I need to find a way to incorporate them somehow. We'll see. But anyway, despite the fact that I haven't read the series, I know that I love the series, because the first book is the book that got me into reading. The first book is the reason I'm where I am today when it comes to reading books, and where it comes to books, I feel as though I owe my current personality, my current life, my current state to this book, because had that book not been good, I probably would have given up reading altogether and I still wouldn't have read. And I did. So I do want to carry on the Maximum Ride series at some point. I don't know how I'm going to find it. I do honestly believe that I will love it. I honestly believe that nothing will ruin it for me because it's a series that I do care about. However, I can't say. But I am very excited for Hawk because it is a continuation of the series. Hawk is the child of one of the original members, and it says Hawk doesn't know her real name. She doesn't know who her family was or where they went. The only thing she remembers is that she was told to stay on that street corner until they came back for her, for as long as it takes. That was 13 years ago. The day she finally gives up is the moment that her life changes, because the promise becomes reality. Someone's coming for her, but it's not a rescue, it's an execution. And I'm like, okay, now I have to read all of Maximum Ride to get there. So this book is due to be released on the 6th, is that right? Yes, this book is due to be released on the 6th of July, which means I've got until the 6th of July to read all of the Maximum Ride books, because I'm determined to read Hawk, because it sounds fantastic and it is a continuation of a book that made me fall in love with reading. So I'm so excited to read that. So those are all the books I'm excited for. There's 5 on the list. That only goes up to July. I decided personally that doing it for the first 6 months of the year, and then when it comes to July, I will do the next 6 months and do it that way. Otherwise, I don't want to get excited for a book that's not going to come out till December. That'll just make me very sad because I'm waiting for it. So yes, first 6 months of the year, 5 books. Very excited. Please check them out if you're interested. If any of the ones I've discussed sound interesting, I will link them all down below in the description. Other than that, that is it from me. Please make sure to click the subscribe button. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Thank you.